and it was well that the shackles of civilization should again fetter them. A great empire demanded development, fertile valleys, invited cultivation, and the cow counties, as the plains were contemptuously termed by the miners, with the decay of mining, began to assert their importance and supremacy. In the 60s, new conditions sprang into existence, and fineness was written to the characteristics of the days of '49. To write understandingly of that period, one must have lived in it. To catch the spirit, one must have been a part of it. In these prosy days of railroads and trusts, it is a fable resting on no better authority than the romancer's creations or senile maunderings of the belated pioneer. And yet the half has not been told. Then fact was romance, and romance fact. To be rich was not to be envied. To be poor brought no reproach. Brawn and muscle counted for more than brains. Health and strength was a more available capital than a college education. There lately came into the possession of the editor of the text that follows this preface a stout, leather-bound book of some 300 pages, containing a jumble of accounts and records of happenings and incidences, ranging from the cost of provisions and supplies to notes of the doings of mining chums and neighbors. Bearing every evidence of genuineness, it purported to be the experiences of one Alfred T. Jackson, a pioneer miner who cabined and worked on Rock Creek, Nevada County, California. In the lapse of the 50-odd years since it had been written, the ink had faded and turned yellow. Many of the lines were barely legible, and a dozen of the first leaves of the book had been torn away. Fortunately, the remainder was intact, and the subject matter proved to be of vital historical interest. Here at last was a truthful, unadorned, veracious chronicle of the Placer mining days of the foothills, a narrative of events as they occurred, told in simple and, at times, ungrammatical sentences, yet vivid and truth-compelling in the absence of conscious literary endeavor. One speculates as to the motive that impelled the author to persist in his diary. He was not a Pepys. His naive confessions do not always give the real state of his mind or the true reasons for his actions. He was inclined to self-deception, was not frank with himself, while pretending that its pages were intended only for his own eye. It is reasonable to believe that he entertained a lurking idea that it might see the light, and this, with the relaxation it afforded him from a contemplation of his hardships and sordid surroundings, made it a pleasant Sunday evening task. At any rate, it is a unique contribution to the history of the era subsequent to the discovery of gold on the flanks of the Sierra Nevadas. It sets forth graphically the successive steps in gold mining, from the pan and rocker to the ground sluice and flume, and the quaint belief of the pioneers that the Placer gold deposits would soon give out that the sojourn was but a transient one, and that nothing then remained but a return to the States. Equally interesting is the gradual evolution of the diarist. From the puritanical New Englander, bound and shackled with the prejudices of generations, narrow and limited in his views and opinions, morally uncontaminated and unsophisticated in his experiences, to the broader and more typical Californian, whose mental growth was stimulated by the freedom of his environment and associations. He became tolerant, worldly wise, more charitable to his fellowmen, convinced that over and beyond the horizon